All right, hi you guys. So welcome to the last full week of classes. Today is Tuesday, and next week is our last week of class, our last week of school. I know this isn't exactly how we expected to end the school year, and I miss you guys all a lot, but we finally made it. This is our last week. It's our last week of assignments. So just pay attention to this video because I'm going to go over two things, including what your assignment actually is this week. So please watch the video in its entirety. The first thing that I'm going to go over is the recess strategy, because I noticed that a lot of you guys, when you wrote your recess strategies last week for your projects and the week before that, you were missing a couple components. So I'm going to go over this one more time. This information is also in the PowerPoint. So in RESEST, just like in REST, we have our restating of our question, our evidence, our significance, our second evidence, our second significance, and our tied up. Now, the reason why we have two pieces of evidence and two pieces of significance is because we have two different texts that we have to quote from. In your project, the two texts are going to be the first article that you chose to write about, so the actual article from the US History website, and then the second text is going to be your project. So whether that is a poem, a short story, the lyrics to your rap song, or describing the picture that you drew, or describing one of your slides from your PowerPoint, you are still going to use that as your evidence to answer the question in your final project's recessed paragraph. So if we go over each step, the restate here, the first R, part one, you're going to restate the question, but you also have to respond to the question. So use FSA words in your restatement, like take the actual question that you're being asked, and then respond to it. You need to give me your answer as well. In your E, you have to provide evidence that will prove your R. You can't just give me an answer. You have to prove it with evidence. So you have to use a transition phrase. You have to put it in order too. So if I'm asking how the text that you chose from the website and how your creative text, what is emphasized in both, the first text that's mentioned is your article from the website. So that's the first piece of evidence that you're going to give me. Your S, which a lot of you guys always struggle with this one. In one sentence, you're going to tell me, it could be more than one sentence, but typically it's one sentence. You're going to tell me why you chose that piece of evidence to prove your response. You always have to go back to your R. Always try to prove why you chose the response that you did. What answer are you giving me, and how do you prove that? Your S is the most important part. I've always said this. Your S is super important because it tells me that you know what you're talking about. You have to prove in your S how your evidence actually proves your answer. Because you can't just put an answer here and then put a random piece of evidence and not prove how they connect. Everything is connected. Your second piece of evidence will also prove your R, but it's from your second text. So if your second text is your creative project, that's what you're going to quote from. If it's from the actual poem or the lyrics of a rap or a song or a short story, you're going to take a quote from there and you're going to quote yourself, basically. If it's from the PowerPoint, you're going to take one of the slides and take a quote from one of the slides or describe what's happening in one of the slides. If it's a video or a picture, you're going to describe the actual picture. You're going to describe what's going on in the video. Okay? And then in your S, again, you're going to explain to me why this piece of evidence proves your answer. You always have to explain why your answer is correct. And that is what the ES portion is. Then finally, a lot of you guys, even if you do RESES, you always forget to do the T. Remember that the T, you're tying it up, you're concluding it. I need you to finish off that paragraph strong. Bring it back to the R. Restate your question again with your answer, but in other words. So here in this box, you'll see transition words that you can use. This is also in the PowerPoint, so go ahead and look at that. But here, for instance, I give you an example, right? What subject is emphasized in both the text, the Battle of Yorktown, and the song Yorktown? Here, my yellow is my R, my blue is my evidence, my purple is my significance, my blue here again is my evidence, purple is my significance again, and my green is my tie it up. So the subject that is emphasized in both the text, the Battle of Yorktown, and the song Yorktown is the 1781 battle that led to the victory of the Revolutionary War. I didn't just restate the question, I gave the answer. What is emphasized? I'm giving it to you right here. The 1781 battle that led to the victory of the Revolutionary War. And then I'm going to give you evidence that connects to that. Why is this answer correct? I'm about to prove it with my evidence. In the text, The Battle of Yorktown, the author states, the outcome in Yorktown, Virginia marked the conclusion of the last major battle of the American Revolution and the start of a new nation's independence. All right, that's great. So this evidence does prove that, but how can I be so sure that you actually know that and that you didn't just pick a random sentence? That's where your S comes in. I'm going to actually explain it to you. This explains that this battle that was won wasn't an ordinary battle, but the one that actually determined the victory of the American colonies over the British ones, cementing their independence. I just explained to you why this is important, why this evidence proves my R. It's all going back to the R. It's all connected. Now I'm going to add a second piece of evidence because I'm asking for two different texts. The Battle of Yorktown is right here. Now I'm asking for Yorktown. So in the lyrics of Yorktown, they state, we escort their men out of Yorktown. They stagger home single file. Tens of thousands of people flood the streets. There are screams and church bells ringing. And as our fallen foes retreat, I hear the song they're singing. The world turns upside down. So, okay, this proves again that the 1781 battle led to the victory of the Revolutionary War. But how? How does this prove that? I'm about to explain it in my second S. These lyrics show that they won the Battle of Yorktown and it turned their whole world upside down, meaning they changed a big part of history by winning this battle and securing their victory over the British. So I'm bringing it back to victory, those key words there, cementing their independence, victory, right? Victory of the Revolutionary War. I bring it back to that topic continuously. I'm always bringing it back to my R. And then finally, again, my final sentence, I conclude it. I bring it all back to the R. Therefore, both texts emphasize the moment the American soldiers beat the British soldiers in the Revolutionary War. And I'm tying it all up in a nice little bow by bringing it back to my R, back to my first sentence, explaining again how the subject that is emphasized in both texts. And that is how you do a recessed paragraph. So this week, for your final project, please make sure that you are submitting that recessed paragraph because it is worth 50% of your final grade. So make sure that you're doing that. And then I also want to go over this week's assignment. This week's assignment is different than all the others because it's makeup work time. So what you're going to do is you're going to go into your grade book and you're going to find any assignments for the fourth quarter that have a 0 or have an I. An I means incomplete and it counts as a 0. So what you're going to do is you're going to go back to those assignments in Google Classroom, and I'm going to explain it to you here. So here's my Google Classroom page. This is me as a student, okay? So as a student, this is period 1. I've added myself to it. I'm going to go to where it says classwork, and I'm going to click view your work. So after I've gotten to my gradebook and I've seen all the ones that have a 0 and an incomplete, I'm going to go back here and I'm going to complete those assignments. So I'm going to click on them, starting with Memoirs Lesson 1. We are going to ignore these here, but starting with Memoirs Lesson 1, all of these assignments, whichever ones you have not done, you can make them up for a grade, okay? I will give you full credit if you do them correctly. Your 0 can change to a C, a B, an A. I will not give you I will not deduct points for submitting it late. I'm giving you an opportunity to submit your work for a full credit if you actually submit it and do it right. All you have to do is go back and starting with Memoirs Lesson 1, just figure out which ones you're missing and resubmit them, okay? Now, there are 2 conditions to this. 1, if I already gave you a grade, anything 1, 2, 3, or 4, if you have any of those grades in the grade book, you cannot resubmit your assignment. I will not change your grade from something that you already submitted. The only thing that you can do is change your 0 or change your I. That's the difference. Your 0 or your I, your zeros or your incompletes. You cannot change a grade that you don't like just because you don't like it. And second, your project first draft is going to become your project's final draft. So instead of me giving you an actual assignment this week, what you're going to do is you're going to go back into your project. You're going to look at the notes that I gave you for your project, and you're going to fix it up there and resubmit it. On this week's assignment, you're going to see this in your this questionnaire in your Google Classroom. What you're going to do is you're going to write your name and your period, and this is going to help me organize who I have to check and what assignments I have to check from you. So you're going to check mark all of the ones that you are resubmitting for a grade change. And if you're resubmitting your Hamilton final project, you're going to click yes. And if you're not, you're going to click no. The reason why the Hamilton one is in a different question is because your Hamilton final project can be completed if you're satisfied with the grade that you got last week. So if you're satisfied with that project, I could go ahead and just grade it and give you the final assignment if you think that you don't have to fix anything. Now, if I told you to fix some things, a lot of you guys needed to fix a couple things in your PowerPoints, or you needed to do the recess paragraph, you need to fix that, because if not, your grade is going to suffer. But if you're okay with the grade that you will receive, the one that you got last week basically, then just say no. You're not going to resubmit your final project, and that's what you're going to get. And at the end of the day, if you're okay with getting a 0 or a 1 or a 2, which is a D or a C, then that's on you. But this week is going to be all about makeup work. So you're going to be able to make up any assignment that you've missed, that you've received a 0 or an incomplete. Go back into previous assignments, see any that I've returned with a grade, and have added comments. If you see this little thing here, I add comments, okay? Look at the comments that I make, because a lot of you guys get comments from me saying, hey, this is blank, you need to resubmit it. And then you have to go ahead and do that. If you are having trouble with that, reach out to me through Remind or through Instagram, and I will help you with it. Aside from that, good luck on this week's assignments. If you guys need any help, remember to reach out, and I will see you guys in our Zoom meetings. Bye, guys.